having a class on larynx, which has been divided into two parts, larynx 1 and larynx 2. At the end of these two lectures, the student shall be able to describe the morphology of larynx, describe laryngeal membranes and mucosa, describe the attachments of intrinsic and extrinsic muscles of the larynx, say the blood supply, nerve supply, and applied importance, describe the anatomical basis of recurrent laryngeal nerve injury, mechanism of phonation in brief. The primary function of larynx is to act as an air passage. Secondarily, it acts as a sphincter to prevent entry of food, and incidentally, it also has a function of phonation, that is sound production. The location of larynx is in the neck. It extends from vertebral level C3 to C6. At this point, let us identify the important structures at the cervical vertebral level. C1 is hard palate. C2 is lower border of upper teeth. C3 is hyoid bone. C4 is upper border of thyroid cartilage. C6 is arch of cricoid. In between C4 and C6, at C5, lies the vocal cord. C7 is isthmus of thyroid gland. Extent of larynx is to the upper border of epiglottis, which is also at the level of C3, to the lower border of cricoid cartilage, which is at vertebral level C6. It communicates above with the laryngopharynx and below with the trachea. But in children, the larynx extends from C1 to C4. That's why the larynx in children, newborns, is called as intranarial. That means it lies in the nasopharynx. It is because of this reason that a child can swallow milk and breathe at the same time without getting choked. Even if a child is drinking milk in a completely supine position, the milk will not enter the respiratory tract because of the higher level of larynx. This larynx is also intranarial in keen-scented animals like dogs. But in humans, after initial childhood, it descends down to the adult vertebral level C3 to C6. At this time, the palatopharyngeus muscle, so originally horizontal, becomes vertical when the larynx descends. Vertically, the larynx is longer in males, shorter in females. Transverse diameter is not much different, but anteroposterior diameter is significant. There is 36 millimeters in males, 56 in females. This is why the pitch of the voice in males and females differ. Larynx has totally 9 cartilages, 3 of which are unpaired, epiglottis, thyroid, and cricoid, and 3 are paired, arytenoid, corniculate, and piriform. Corniculate and piriform are functionally unimportant cartilages. Only the first, epiglottis, thyroid, cricoid, and arytenoid are important. All cartilages of the respiratory tract are hyaline, except epiglottis, corniculate, cuneiform, and apex of arytenoid cartilage, which are elastic. All hyaline cartilages can ossify as a degenerative old age. Then we will discuss the joints, ligaments, and membranes of larynx, mucous membrane, and the muscles. Looking at the larynx from front, you can see the hyoid bone colored yellow, but hyoid bone is not a part of larynx. Below that is the thyroid cartilage, and connecting thyroid and hyoid is thyrohyoid membrane. Below that is, below the thyroid is arch of cricoid, and the ligament connecting thyroid with arch of cricoid is cricothyroid ligament. The back view of larynx shows the epiglottis in its entirety, and sitting on the lamina of cricoid, you can see two pyramidal shaped structures which are called as arachnoid. We discuss the four important cartilages. Epiglottis is leaf shaped, overhangs the vestibule of larynx. It has got two ends, upper and lower, two surfaces, anterior and posterior. The anterior surface is also called as oral surface. Posterior surface is called as laryngeal surface. Two lateral borders. It's an elastic cartilage covered anteriorly by stratified squamous non-characterized epithelium, the oral surface, and posteriorly the lower part, the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells, that is the laryngeal surface. Non-characterized stratified squamous epithelium is called as a wear and tear epithelium. So the friction of the food is the cause of the anterior surface being covered by stratified squamous epithelium. Extending from the tongue to the epiglottis in the midline is called as median glossoepiglottic fold. On either sides from the tongue to the epiglottis is called as lateral epiglottic fold. The space in between the two is called as valleculae. It is this region, the vallecular region of the tongue, is what has got vagus nerve carrying the sensations of both general and taste. Extending from the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis is called as aryepiglottic fold. There is a muscle which lies in that fold, which is called as aryepiglotticus muscle. If you look at the posterior surface, the aryepiglotticus muscle traced back posteriorly cross each other in the form of a letter X. That muscle, which is crossing each other, are called as oblique arytenoids. So oblique arytenoids itself continues as the aryepiglottic muscle. Below that, you can see the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle on the left hand side. This posterior cricoarytenoid muscle ascends upwards and laterally. So it has got a posterior pull and a downward pull. The right hand side figure, what you can see is extending from the thyroid to epiglottis is the thyroepiglotticus muscle. Extending from arytenoid to epiglottis is aryepiglotticus muscle. But you can also see extending from thyroid to arytenoid is thyroarytenoid muscle, and extending from cricoid to arytenoid is lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. Part of the muscle, which is on the outer surface of the larynx, the cricothyroid muscle has been cut. You can see the cuttings. Oblique arytenoids and aryepiglotticus muscle closes the laryngeal area. Thyroepiglotticus muscle opens the image. Next, we'll discuss the thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage lies upon C4, C5 vertebra. At C5, we also said is the location of the vocal cords. The angle of the thyroid to laminae make it 90 degrees in males and 120 degrees in females. Thyroid cartilage consists of two lamina meeting in front at the angle. Each lamina is quadrilateral. It has got four borders, superior, inferior, anterior, posterior. It has got two surfaces, outer and inner surface, and it has got two horns, a superior horn and an inferior horn. Both of them are a continuation of the posterior border. The inferior horn of thyroid cartilage forms a joint with cricoid, which is called as cricothyroid joint. Since there are two posterior borders, two posterior borders of the two labidae. There are two inferior horns of the thyroid cartilage. That's why there are two cricothyroid joints. The movement at these joints are rocking movements around a transverse border. The superior border and the cornu are attached to the hyoid bone by the thyroid membrane. The inferior horn said forms a joint with the lateral surface of the cricoid, form a pair of thyroid joints. The inferior border is attached to the upper border of the cricoid arch by a cricothyroid ligament. The third cartilage that we discuss is what is called a star. It's a cricoid cartilage. Viewed from front, it is just an arch. Viewed from behind, it's a large lamina. The cricoid cartilage is called as the signet ring cartilage. It's the only complete cartilage of the SPF. Resting on the upper surface of the lamina lies the arytenoid cartilage. And you can also see slightly below that facet for articulation with inferior of thyroid cartilage. The cricoid cartilage is connected to the first cartilage of trachea by the cricotracheal membrane. The same way, it's the only complete ring or cartilage in the respiratory tract. The ring slopes antero-inferiorly. The anterior part is known as arch. Posterior part is known as lamina. Laterally is the facets for attachment of inferior of the thyroid cartilage. Lamina has sloping shoulders and the articulating facets over it to articulate with arytenoid cartilage. Arytenoid cartilage are pyramidal shaped cartilage. It has got an apex, a base. The base has got two processes. Anterior process is called as vocal process. Lateral process is called as muscular process. Muscular process because muscles are attached. Vocal process because extending from there is the vocal ligament. Vocal process, the cartilaginous part, and vocal ligament, the elastic ligament part. Both constitute the vocal cords. And vocal cords are covered by mucous membrane. They are called as vocal fold. Membranes in ligament of larynx. Extrinsic we have said, connecting thyroid to hyoid with the thyroid membrane. Connecting cricoid and thyroid in the midline is cricothyroid ligament. And connecting cricoid to trachea is cricotracheal ligament. Intrinsically, the larynx shows two membranes. One is square shaped, that's why called as quadrate membrane or quadrangular membrane. The other is called as conus elasticus because its upper end is the elastic ligament part of vocal cord. The thyroid membrane viewed from behind is pointed with an arrow anteriorly. You notice the superior laryngeal vessels, the internal laryngeal nerve pierces the thyroid membrane to enter the interior of the larynx. Cricothyroid ligament, seen anteriorly, is a thickened part of cricothyroid membrane, which is also called as conus elasticus. The thickened anterior part is called cricothyroid ligament. We talk about the two intrinsic membranes of the larynx. You can see the quadrate membrane. Quadrate membrane extends from the aryepiglottic fold above to a free margin, which is called as vestibular ligament. Below, you can see cricovocal membrane. whose upper end is vocal ligament. Cricovocal membrane is another name for conus elasticus. The upper end is vocal ligament, which is an elastic ligament. These membranes are covered by mucous membrane. They are called as vestibular fold and vocal fold. The space between the vestibular ligament and the vocal ligament is called as a sinus or the ventricle of larynx. The sinus or ventricle in some lower animals extends laterally to form a large saccule of the larynx. A saccule of the larynx can store as an air passage, especially for amphibians to breathe when they are underwater. The cavity of larynx, vocal cords are also called as glottis. And the part above the glottis is called as supraglottic portion of larynx. The part below the glottis is called as infraglottic portion of larynx. The space from the inlet, that is aryepiglottic fold, up to vestibular membrane, is also called as the false vocal cord, is called as vestibule of larynx. And the space which we already said between vestibular fold and vocal fold is the larynx of ventricle, which can be seen to be extending further upward than the saccule. Inlet of the larynx is bounded above and in front by the upper margin of the epiglottis, on each side by the aryepiglottic fold. The closure of the inlet is by approximation of aryepiglottic folds by contraction of the aryepiglotticus muscle, which is nothing but the continuation of oblique erythroid muscle. The epiglottis does not fall back. So it's not the epiglottis which closes the inlet. It's the aryepiglottic fold and the muscle which closes the inlet like a purse string suture. The opening of the inlet is mostly passive, partly assisted by contraction of thyroepiglotticus muscle.